So, what do you think about this thing? This thing is called Cosmos 482. A high-tech capsule was built to survive even the most extreme heat of another planet. But something went wrong. It never made it out of Earth's orbit. For over 15 years, it drifted silently around the planet, forgotten until now. In May 2025, gravity finally pulled it down. It's coming home. Built to survive re-entry and unpredictable enough to crash anyway. No warning, no parachute, just 1,000-pound spear falling from the sky. So before we find out how this capsule is coming home, if you don't subscribe to my channel, just subscribe. Okay, let's get started. In 1972, this funny-looking ball was sent on a Venus-bound mission. Now Venus is like Earth's silver twin. It's similar in size, but that's where the similarity ends, because it's the hottest planet in the solar system where temperatures reach 816 Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt lead. Atmospheric pressure is about 93 times greater than Earth's, which is like being 3000 feet underwater and you feel like you are in a trash compactor. And the atmosphere itself is made of carbon dioxide with a glass that literally rains sulfuric acid. So yeah, it's pretty bad. Yet Cosmos 482 was fully expected to reach it and land. Not for long though, a type of self-destruct scouting mission. When the spacecraft was originally designed to land and transmit data, hopefully for at least a few minutes on the surface, that crushes, bakes and basically dissolves anything that touches it. How? Well, it comes with heat shields for the fiery bulge. Also, there is a mini AC to cool just long enough, and armor tough enough to handle Venus' brutal environment. It was truly a high-tech reinforced boat built for a one-way trip, and this was in the early 70s, mind you. Fun fact is, even today we never build anything that could survive that kind of environment. We have deep-sea submarines that can handle big-time pressure, but not the heat. There are space capsules that can withstand extreme temperatures, but only for a few minutes. Even nuclear reactor was designed to handle serious pressure would crumble if acid rained on them non-stop. Now a funny twist of this story is that landing on Venus was already achieved in 1970. Venera 7 became the first spacecraft to land on another planet and transmit data back to Earth, surviving on Venus' surface for a full 23 minutes before melting down. It proved that impossible was possible, just not for Cosmos 482. So what went wrong with Cosmos 482? Well, we always imagined space travel as firing up the spaceship, launching it, and that's it, right? However, that's not the way how it works. First, with the initial boost, you park it in Earth's orbit like pulling it to space driveway. Then comes a second burn, a precisely timed engine firing that pushes the spacecraft out of orbit and towards its destination. Cosmos 482 made it to the parking orbit just fine. But something went wrong with the second push. So no push means no trip, right? So instead of heading to Venus, it got stuck circling Earth for the next 15 years. But why does something get stuck orbiting for so long? Well, when something gets launched into space, it's not just going up, it's also going really fast sideways. Like if you throw a baseball up hard enough, it eventually hits the ground. But if you could throw it fast enough and Earth was not in the way, it would just keep falling around the planet. That's what orbiting means, falling but never hitting the ground. The object's forward speed balances perfectly with the gravity, pulling it down. So to leave the Earth, the spacecraft needs to pass through 3 layers. Well, the first layer is low Earth orbit or LEO, a few hundred miles up. Here is where satellites, the space station, and denses of leftover junk circles the planet. Moreover, Cosmos 482 never made it past this point. If the second launch has been successful, it would have gone through medium Earth orbit, where GPS satellites cruise the way out at 22,000 miles. There is geostationary orbit, the sweet spot for weather reports and TV. So now we know how Cosmos ended up there and why it was orbiting for so long in LEO. But what made it suddenly change its mind and fall back? Even in Leo, space isn't completely empty, there is still a tiny bit of atmosphere up there, and over time it acts like a brake, slowing things down just enough. Think back to the baseball you throw sideways fast enough to orbit Earth. Eventually, it will slow down to the point where gravity takes over. However, Earth is securely protected by its atmosphere. As objects fall back to Earth, the speed keeps increasing up to tens of thousands of miles per hour. When you are moving that fast, also the air pushes back really hard. That push creates friction and friction creates heat. A lot of heat. The surface of falling objects can reach over 3000 Fahrenheit, causing them to melt, shatter or vaporize completely before they ever hit the ground. That's why scientists don't lose sleep over small debris, small pieces of old satellites, even tools lost doing spacewalks. Fall all the time, but they burn up like shooting stars, we just never notice them. Now a baseball would discredit it instantly, but what about a giant ball designed to withstand landing on Venus? But thankfully, this potentially horrifying story is anticlimactic because Cosmos crashed into the Indian Ocean west of Jakarta on May 10, 2025. Radar picked it up, streaking through the sky, blowing, breaking, heating up, but still intact enough to make it all the way down, and it did. Thankfully, not somewhere crowded. However, now that it's lost beneath the waves, we are free to speculate how real was the danger. Could it have fallen into a crowded area? Absolutely. If the 1,000-pound capsule had come down over a city, it could have smashed through rooftops or damaging cars, or worst in case is that seriously injured someone. And no, there wouldn't have been sirens or alerts. Cosmos 482 was launched in the 1970s. Yeah, long before the GPS or any live tracking, so there was no signal to follow, no proper guidance system. Scientists could only make rough estimates about where it might land. So, if it had come down over land, it would have looked like a meteoroid. Well, the story of Cosmos 482 with the landing had a happy ending, but it's not the only thing up there that could fall down. As of early 2025, about 11,700 satellites are active, but with roughly 14,900 in orbit. That means over 3,000 are no longer operational. And the space junk keeps filling up. Space tracking system monitors more than 40,000 objects that are bigger than a softball, such as pieces of old satellites and bits of rockets. Scientists estimate there are over a million fragments larger than a half an inch and more than 100 million smaller bits still floating around. These can't hunt us down on Earth, but most of it clutter Leo, where collisions can generate explosive clouds of debris, damaging satellites and space stations. Just one crash can trigger a chain reaction called Kessler syndrome, where each impact creates more debris, leading to more collisions and the Earth's orbit turned to a demolition nearby. Remember the movie Gravity? Yeah, like that. And yes, bigger things from Leo do fall. Cosmos 482 was not the first space object to come crashing back. In 2016, Tiangong 1 space station lost contact and fall back to Earth 2 years later, eventually burning up over the Pacific. In 2001, the famous Mir station was intentionally brought down, and before that, in 1991, Salyut 7, another space station, unexpectedly deorbited. The 4010 station broke up at re-entry, and parts that surveyors scattered over Argentina. Among others, in 1979, NASA's Skylab, the very first American space station, fell back to Earth with only partial control. Pieces of it rained down across Western Australia. Some newspapers even offered cash rewards to anyone who found the junk. So we have seen this happen before. Cosmos 482 was just the latest reminder. That's it. But for NASA and other space agencies to think about this problem. And most modern spacecraft designed to return have parachutes, heat shields, and built-in softly systems to guide them home. but not working satellites and old junk? Yeah, they are still up there. So next time a space object might not land safely in the ocean, might cross through your roof while you are watching my video. But don't worry, that's for today. So if you like this video, just subscribe, like, share. Bye everyone.